Welcome to video lesson 4.8, where we are going to be talking about how to divide mixed numbers. The table of contents that I need you to fill out, we are going to be on 2 pages just because we're doing 5 examples. And so 51 and 52, please label that divide mixed numbers. And you should have that blue note sheet that I gave you in class. We're going to trim that up like so. So there's a chart at the top that says mixed numbers, improper fraction, reciprocal. That's going to go up at the top of page 51. And then the 3 examples, you can keep them all this together. You don't have to cut them individually. I just stuck them at the top of the next page, and that gives you the whole bottom to do all of your examples. I have this up again just to remind you that we are going to be doing the same steps. The only thing today is that it is a mixed number for one of your dividend or divisors. So you're going to have to change the mixed numbers to improper fractions before you keep change flip. So the steps stay the same. We're just now focusing on mixed numbers today. Before we start examples, I want to just review how to take a mixed number, change it to an improper fraction, and then find its reciprocal. So the first mixed number we're going to have is 7.5. Remember, the first thing we have to do is change it to an improper fraction. So we're going to take that and multiply 2 times 7 and then add the 1, and that's going to be 15. And once we have the improper fraction, then we can flip it around to find its reciprocal, which is 2/15. So let's do a couple more like this to get us used to working with mixed numbers and their reciprocals. So let's try 4 2/3. So to find the improper fraction, we're going to take the 3, multiply it by the 4, which is 12, add 2, we have 14/3, and then flip it around, and that's going to be 3/14. So the next one we're going to do is 3 5/7. Again, same process. We're going to multiply and then add 5. So 21 plus 5, we have 26/7. Now we're going to flip it. And we have 7/26. The last one, we have 5 1/8. So again, just multiply denominator, whole number, and add 1. So we have 41/8, which is then 8/41. Now we're ready for some actual division examples. So example 1, in your notebook, we're actually just going to label it example 1 and then write our problem so that we have 1 3/4 being divided by 2/5. So go ahead and fill that, write that in, and now we'll start to first change your mixed number to improper fraction. So 4 times 1 is 4 plus 3 is 7. I'm going to keep this as a division problem. Now that I have 2 fractions, now I can keep change flip. This is especially important because if you start flipping beforehand, you could make some mistakes. So 7/4 times 5/2. There is nothing I can do to simplify this down more, so I'm just going to multiply across and get 35/8. Now I have to divide that improper fraction to get a mixed number. So 35 is close to 32, so I'm going to do 8 times 4 and get 3 left over, which means my mixed number is going to be 4 3/8. So that's example 1. No word problem, just how do you take mixed numbers and work with the division of fractions. Now we have another just straight, let's divide 2 mixed numbers now. So now we have 2 4 2/3 being divided by 1 3/4. So again, I'm going to change both of them and still have the division sign. So this is going to be a 3, this is going to be a 4. 12 plus 2, and then 4 plus 3. And now I keep change flip. 14 over 3 times 4 sevenths. I can take the 14 and the 7 and divide them both by 7. So that will be 2 times 4 and then 3 times 1. I have to divide this to get my answer in a mixed number form. So 3 times 2 is 6. And I have the mixed number as my answer of 2 2/3. Example 2 done. Okay, so here we're going to start the word problems. You have this, I just left these blanks so I can fill in the fractions the right way. So Angela completed a fundraising walk in 4 2/5 hours. Let's just cross out this, sorry, typo. The walk was, there we go, 14 2/3 miles long. How many miles did she average each hour? So we want to split up the entire walk and find out how much she walked per hour. So the trick here is to make sure you understand which mixed number is the divisor and which mixed number is the dividend. So you have to think, what are we splitting up? And that answer is the dividend. So we have the entire walk is what we're going to be splitting up. That is the dividend. That is the number that we're going to write first. How many hours did she walk? That is what we're going to be dividing it up into. This is the divisor, this is the number we write second. So our problem will be 14 2/3 being divided into 4 2/5 to find out how many miles she averaged each hour. So before I used a question mark, now I'm going to start to use a letter. That is just an unknown, and it connects with the topic of what I'm asked to find. So now I'm going to turn both of these mixed numbers into improper fractions. 14 times 3 is going to be 42, plus 2 is 44. 4 times 5, 20, plus 2, 22. Now I can keep change flip. I'm going to do 44 over 3 times 5 over 22. And if it helps you to make those circles and do KCF, great, keep doing that. And if you are solid with the keep change flip, you can simply keep change flip at that point. I noticed that these two have a common factor of 22. So 22 divided by 22 is 1. And if you double or 2 times 22 is going to be 44. So I now have 2 times 5, which is 10, and 3 times 1, which is 3. I'm going to divide 10 by 3. 10 is close to 9, so that's a 3 with a 1 left over. My answer now is 3 1/3 miles each hour that she walked. So I'm going to add miles to my answer. And I'm done. Let's try example 4. So this one is very wordy. However, I'm going to show you how you can pick out the important parts so that you can understand what's going on. The average adult male giant panda weighs about 1 1/5 times as much as the average adult female. So let's just stop right there. Very wordy. And I see this phrase right here, times as much as. So we're comparing two things. We got the male panda and the female panda. The male panda That's really the most important word. The male weighs, this is obviously important as well, 1.5 times as much as the female. So the male's a little bit bigger, basically. And whatever the female is, we can multiply that. So whatever the female weighs, if we multiply it by 1 1/5, we will get what the male weighs. So notice I used letters F and M to represent male and female. And whenever you see this 1 1/5 times as much as, it's comparing two things, and we're saying that the male is bigger than the female because you can multiply the female's weight by this number and get the male's weight. So sometimes it's nice to set this up as a multiplication problem first because you're seeing the word times in the problem, but actually as we continue reading, we'll see that it turns into a division problem. If the weight of the male is 330 pounds, we want to know how much does the female weigh. So if you notice down here, we're not given the female and have to multiply. We're actually given how much the male weighs. So the male panda is 330, and we have to find out how much the female weighs. So now it becomes a division problem where we are taking the 330 as my first number, my dividend, and I'm dividing it into groups of 1 1/5. So now that we have that understanding, let's write our problem. I'm going to come right over here. I'm going to start with 330, and I'm going to divide it by 1 1/5. I notice my divisor is a mixed number. I have to change that first. So 5 plus 1 is 6. And now I can keep change flip. I have 330 over 1, sorry, gotta do that first, times 5 6. So I'm running out of room. I'm gonna jump over to this side to finish it up, but I'm noticing that this is an even number and 3 plus 3 is 6, which is divisible by 3. So I know that these two numbers are going to work well with each other. What is 330 divided by 6? Well, 5 is 30, and then we have a 3 left over, which is another 5. So I'm going to actually have 55 up here and a 1 down here, which actually means I'm just multiplying 55 times 5 to get my answer. And I have a 25 and another 25. So I have an answer of 275 pounds. So with the female, let's think about it again. If the female is 275 pounds, if you multiply that 1 1/5 times, you will get the bigger number, 330 pounds. So a little wordy, but it helps to set up a multiplication problem first sometimes to see what your dividend and your divisor could be. One more. So in this one, we have a package of crackers, snack-sized cracker packs, and they weigh total 28.5 ounces. Each snack pack, that's important, weighs 4 3/4 ounces. How many snack packs are in the box? So this one's a little bit more clear-cut. This is our total, so that's going to be our first number, our dividend, and then the 4 3/4 is going to be our second number, our divisor, because that's what each pack weighs. So our setup, starting with our dividend, dividing by our divisor. So I'm going to change these guys to improper fractions first. So we have 28 times 2, which is 56, plus 1 is 57. Then I have 4 times 4 plus 3, which is 19. Now I can keep change flip, multiplied by 4/19. And now let's see if I can do any simplify first. I know 4 and 2 works well with each other, so that's going to change to a 2. Let's think about 19. 19 times 2, It's gonna be probably too small, 38, but let's try 19 times 3, 27, and bingo. This is actually 19 times 3 is going to be 57, so I can simplify all of this down into a 3 times 2 and a 1 times 1, which is 6 packs of crackers are going to be in that box. So those are some examples of word problems and just straight division of mixed numbers. We will practice this for a couple of days to get used to how to work out these kinds of problems. I'll see you tomorrow where we will be practicing all day.